Hello and welcome to From the Roots Up. It is day 17 of the Every Bit Counts Challenge 2023 edition. Today we are going to make and can
Salsa.
All right, salsa. What do you need for Taco Tuesday? Well, you need tacos, but what goes with your tacos?
Salsa.
Chips and salsa, right? And so we are going to, from fresh vegetable all the way to canned jar, ready to go, show you how to make salsa. We're gonna follow a simple recipe right out of the Ball Jar Canning book. But one of the great things about salsa is you can do it however you want. Have fun, play with it, try some. And if you wanna make it a little more spicy, make it a little more spicy next time. If you want more cilantro or you don't like cilantro or you want a little kick of lime or whatever, you can just have fun. There's no one way to do salsa. For our recipe today, we've got some onions, some jalapeno peppers, a little bit of spice, some bell peppers, some Roma tomatoes, garlic, a bit of vinegar, a bit of tomato paste, and cilantro. Now, we have not grown cilantro, and we could not find at the store cilantro except for cilantro in a tube. Now it's still cilantro, a little odd, but it's going to work for our purposes. The recipe is going to call for this whole tube. Squish it right in there, and we will be good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to start preparing the ingredients. We need 7 cups of tomatoes. Now the recipe calls for these tomatoes to be skinned and cored and then cut into small pieces. You don't have to do that. You can just cut them up and throw them in. The reason they suggest skinning and coring them is because the skin and the core parts are, number one, a little more bitter, and so they may affect the taste, and also just for the look, for the outcome, right? Having that nice rich color and not having little chunks of skin. When we go to cook it, the skin is probably going to separate from the tomato pieces anyway. Might collect down at the bottom. Anyway, we're going to go ahead. It's a little more work. We're going to follow the directions and go ahead and get rid of that. Everything else is going to be just pretty much chop up like normal. We need 7 cups of tomatoes that Makayla is going to start working on. And I'm going to do my favorite job, cutting the onions. I'm also going to do the jalapenos, so she doesn't have to. And she's going to handle the bell peppers, the garlic, and the other stuff is easy. It's just going to be measure and pour. So, you ready to get started?
Yep.
All right. You start with the tomatoes. If you run into trouble, holler at me. And I'm going to start stinking this place up with some onions. Okay, the recipe we're using calls for 2 cups of onions, which is basically 2 onions chopped up. We've got our big pot right here that everything is going to go in so that we can cook it down. Next, it calls for 8 jalapeno peppers. I'm only using 6 because these things are huge. 6 of these is probably still more than the 8 small regular sized ones, but this will be just fine. All right, my jalapenos are all cut up. We're going to add them to the big pot here. Whoops, most of them. I lost a couple over the edge. So this is going to be great. We love our chips and salsa, but what else are you going to do with this?
I'm going to enter it in the fair.
Enter it in. This is another fair entry. We're excited. The county fair is right around the corner, and Makayla will have some jars of salsa. Now I had kind of the yucky job with the onions and the hot peppers, but Makayla has the hard job, and so I'm going to jump in here and help her with some of these tomatoes, and she can move on to the big bell peppers. Those are going to be a lot easier. You're not skinning those, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I think the camera cut out on us, but she got 1 cup of green bell pepper, all cut up. We added it into our big pot here, and now she is going to start on 3 cloves of garlic. Now, a clove is not the whole garlic. The clove are these individual little pods that peel off. So you don't want to use 3 whole garlics. You got to really like garlic or have a serious vampire infestation to use that much. So she's going to work on those 3 cloves, and I am still skinning tomatoes. Now again, skinning them, it does take a long time. It's not required, but especially because these are going to be a fair entry, we're going for top of the line, consistent color, consistent texture. We gotta swing hard to win at our county fair, don't we?
Yeah.
Swing for the fence. All right, Makayla has added her 3 cloves of garlic. I am still skinning tomatoes, but she's gonna go ahead and add, we need 3/4 cup of vinegar, 1 full can of tomato paste, and 1 full tube of toothpaste. No, this is our cilantro, but it calls for 1/2 cup. This is a 4-ounce tube, 8 ounces to a cup. So she's just gonna squeeze the whole thing in there, and I'm gonna keep working on these tomatoes. All right, it is day 27 of the Every Bit Counts challenge, and I am still skinning tomatoes. No, just kidding. She just finished the vinegar, the tomato paste, and the tube a la cilantro. And the last thing that she needs to add before we dump these tomatoes in, not because the order matters, just because she's getting everything done while she's waiting on me, is some cumin. So we're going to get how much?
1/2 teaspoon.
1/2 teaspoon. Go grab that real fast. Sprinkle it in.
Okay, we have the stove set on medium-high. I'm just gonna make sure this is all mixed together. I'm gonna wait for it to boil. So now that it's boiling, we are going to turn this on low heat, and we're gonna let this set for about 30 minutes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes. Come stir it, and the way we're cooking this is just gonna let all the flavors mix together a little better. So I'll see you when it's done. So it's been sitting for about 30 minutes, and it is at a nice consistency. So now we're gonna get ready to put it in our jars.
All right, we just got her salsa off of the stove. She did a good job cooking and stirring and stirring and cooking and watching and stirring and cooking and stirring some more. And we're getting ready to put it where?
In the jars.
In the jars. What size jars are we using today? Pint. This recipe should fill 5 pint jars, or you could use smaller 8-ounce jars and get 10 of them. We got 6 of them ready just in case. We have a little too much for the 5, but probably 5 is going to work. Now, a couple of things need to happen to the jars. What's number 1?
They need to be warm so that they don't crack, because if they are cold and you put warm stuff in them, they'll crack.
That's right. We pre-warmed them, and that way when we add fresh hot salsa into them, the drastic temperature change doesn't affect their structural integrity. Yeah, big words that I pretend like I know. And then, okay, they need to be warm. What else do they need to be?
Clean.
Clean. They need to be sterilized. They need to be clean. Our jars are all ready to go. we're going to start ladling this in. Tell them what you're going to use to help out.
We are going to use this funnel.
Okay, funnel, help us get it all in there. Keep it nice and clean. What else?
We're using this little measure thing that if you put it in, there's 1/2 inch. And it points just above there, or just above this bottom line right here.
Yeah, so this helps us know how much headspace, so we can get our measurements good. And how much headspace do we need for our salsa?
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch, just following the recipe to find that out. What else will that tool do?
We will put the other end down in to get rid of the air bubbles.
We want to make sure there's no air bubbles, and so that'll make a nice little poker. You don't want to stir fast once it's in there because then you're adding air, but we'll gently poke and dab and scoot and let everything settle and give the air a chance to escape. We've got tongs to handle hot jars, and I think that's pretty much it. I think we're ready to go. So why don't you start filling those jars up. Are we pressure canning today?
We're water bath canning.
We're water bath canning. Good. Okay, while she's filling the jars, I'll help a little bit again and get our lids on. A couple of things that needs to happen. Number one, what do we need to do to the rim?
We need to clean it off so that the jars will seal.
Yeah, if we spill, drip, dribble, if there's anything on the rim of these jars, it could keep the lids from getting a good seal, and if it doesn't get a good seal, it may not be safe to eat. So we're going to get them good and clean. We're going to put the rings on as soon as there's tension, and then about a 1/4 turn more, or a good solid finger tight. She's going pretty fast. I'm going to try to catch up with her. It's not a race though, right? Now it looks like we're not quite gonna get 5 jars. We may just have 4. Now we're gonna come back over to the stove and get our water bath canner ready to go.
So we're going to put our jars in this. We're going to put this in the bottom so that our jars do not touch the hot bottom. So we're just going to set that in there. The water has to be warm and it has to go above the jars. So the jars and the water in there and everything is kind of hot. So I have this little grabby thingy so I don't burn myself. And it looks like we're going to need a little more water.
Okay, there's not quite enough water in here to cover the jars, and they have to be completely submerged. So I'm going to help her out. We're going to run some hot water from the sink, and it'll be hot enough as long as we're not adding cold water to make a drastic temperature change. The jars will be fine, but we do want to add hot water and get them covered up.
So we are going, now that we have our water above our jars, we're going to let this boil on high temperature for 20 minutes. This is the same time for pint and 8-ounce jars. So put the lid on. So it has been boiling for 20 minutes. We are going to turn the heat off and we're gonna let it set for 5 minutes off the heat with the top off.
All right, we are back and we stayed up late for this one, huh? A little bit tired tonight, but that's okay. We've had 5 minutes to rest, to cool off a little bit. And so I'm gonna do this just because it's late and you're tired. Okay, there is a delicious looking jar of salsa. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Whoops. I'm not going to fit them all on there. I'm going to relocate a little bit. We'll do a nice little staggered pattern here. All right, I can't wait to crack into some of these. Every bit counts challenge. We got to hold off for the big end of the month reveal because we're going to show everything that we've done this month. Then we got to pick one of them to go to the county fair, and then the rest of them go to Taco Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure and search for the hashtag Every Bit Counts Challenge. There are a lot of other channels doing the same thing that we're doing. You can get lots of ideas. Leave us a comment below. What do you like to do different in your salsa? Do you like to kick it up a notch? What do you like to serve it with? And don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, to do all of the buttony things. It helps us out. And we'll have links to some of the gadgets that we used in the description below. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.